Hi, welcome to episode 3 of Knitventures. Hope you're doing well. I feel like the time is literally flying by at the moment. If you're new here, this is a series where I show you how I design a drop shoulder sweater from start to finish. I'll take you along every step of the way. And yeah, we are already on episode 3. So last time I showed you how I start the grading process. We talked a little bit about what grading is. And I've also finally been able to cast on, and we finished off with a finished back yoke. We were kind of whizzing through it. There weren't any issues really. Everything was just knit, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But like I predicted, this week the self-doubt started and frogging happened a lot. So after episode 2 had finished, I began grading the front yoke, and I'll show you how I do that later in the video. But just to give you a little bit of an idea so that you know where we're going with this entire rest of the video, you start by grading the left front yoke, and then you knit that piece, and then you pick up stitches for the right front yoke, which is a mirror image of the left. And then you can start casting on for the underarms and joining the 3 separate segments that you have made together. Now the neckband shaping went fine. That was all kind of how I hoped it would turn out. But then the frogging started. I just got a bit too impatient, and I continued knitting way beyond the point where I had graded up until. And I just realized I would end up with way too many front stitches than I wanted to. And so I had to rip back a little bit and start doing some armhole shaping a little bit earlier. But luckily there wasn't a lot of work that I had put into it, so there wasn't much lost. And then a few days later, I filmed this clip for you. All right, hi everyone. I just took a picture of this for Instagram, and I realized I haven't updated you in a while. And so I thought I'll do a very, very quick one because I'm running late to pick up Emma. But I have basically started the front left shoulder, and I'm actually quite far into it already. You can see the nice little join, which looks exactly like the one for the Wild Winds vest. And I'm really in love with how this turns out. And I have done some increases here for the neckband, which hopefully will be kind of at the point where there's still 6 centimeters between when the other shoulder will join for the button band here and then the neckband up here. But yeah, so far so good. I only had to rip back once when I realized that the front shoulder would be really, really long. And I had to actually decrease the width already quite a bit before I start mirroring the decreases here in the back. But yeah, I'm so far so happy. So far I'm happy. And then later that evening I had to frog again because I didn't count my decreases, and I ended up with a few too many. So I had to rip back again for a few rows and then do the last little bit again. But it's not too bad because I'm actually quite seasoned in picking up half fisherman's rib at this stage. But let that be a lesson to you. Always grade and then knit, and also count your decreases. So I've actually started editing all these videos together to see where I'm at. And what is so funny to see, and I actually didn't realize it before, is just the digression into doubt as time went on. So we started off pretty optimistic when I had the first shoulder segment done. We are progressing quite well. I did like the left shoulder and the way it sort of looks when I just drape it on me. That's about all I can do right now. And I'm trying to imagine it being just a few centimeters longer, because I know that the stitch pattern will grow with blocking. But yeah, I was pretty happy with the progress and the way it looked. And so I decided to just cast on the right side without making any modifications to what I've done on the left side. But once I've joined for the underarms and done a few centimeters, I can properly try it on, and I think I'll get a much better idea of the fit. I don't know if I should. I'm still in 2 minds of whether I should cast on the sleeves. I'm quite anxious to cast on a sleeve because that's the part I find the hardest to imagine just now, how the sleeve will kind of sit. That's why I think I'm the most anxious about the sleeve part. That's why I'm quite keen to cast them on. But yeah, so far so good. So I'm gonna work away on the shoulder segment tonight and then hopefully make a good bit of progress tomorrow. So maybe at the start of the week I can cast on the underarms. So I was still pretty optimistic there, but I also was quite aware that parts coming up would be the ones that would be the most challenging, and they would define how it's going a lot more. But from then on, the doubts started rolling in really thick. There was one morning where I sat down and talked to you guys just about how I was feeling about the project at that stage. So you'll see that in a little minute. And I think that's just really part and important to capture, because it is such a large part of bringing a vision to life. I think there's constantly self-doubt. And the most important piece of advice maybe I would have for this stage is to trust the process and stick to your plan as much as you can until you've reached the waypoints. So for instance, with my piece, I know that the big waypoints will be the point where the underarms are joined, where I have a sleeve going, where I have the button band in and the neckband on. I know I'll be pretty invested at that stage, but I need to see those things to be able to judge how everything will actually look in the end. So I know I have to stick with it, trust the process, trust my plan, and knit up until my waypoints when I can make an actual decision. So find those little waypoints for you and then just trust the process. And frogging is just part of designing. Don't see it as something negative and as wasted time. It's part of the learning process. It's part of creating, especially as a knitwear designer. So trust in yourself. If you're out there, you're not alone. I'll leave you with that, and we'll go on to the clips that I have filmed for this episode. Good morning. I feel like we're at a crucial point with the knit. I finished the front right shoulder yesterday, and I've tried to kind of try it on, but all the doubts are coming in right now, all the regrets, all the question marks. This is the point where you've put in so much time and effort. It's sort of starting to look like something, but there's so many parts still missing that you can't imagine it fully yet. And if you try it on, you're questioning every choice that you've made. That's the point that I'm at right now in this knit. I tried to try it on yesterday, but everything is just so dependent on how the sleeves come together, how the underarm cast on will bring in the bust, and how the neckband thickness adds to the actual neck circumference and the height of the neck. So it's all still very much open, and I don't know whether what I've done is what I envisioned to do and what I like in the end. I wish I could tell a little bit better at this point, because there's a lot of effort that's already gone into it. And if I need to frog, I'd rather do it now than add more time to it. But honestly, I think with this one, I'll just have to stick with it, trust the process, and just continue on for a bit longer. I think and feel very strongly that I have to add a sleeve, one sleeve minimum, to just gauge how this entire area here will behave once the weight of a sleeve is added. And I think once I'm at that point, I will do a little steam blocking just to see how far the half Fishman's rib opens up and whether it gives me the dimensions I was hoping for, or if it's a bit too big, because that's kind of my issue right now. I kind of feel like it might be too big. And I'm also wondering of whether this entire section for the sleeve has been done right, or if that's gonna look a bit funny. So many questions. And I'm full of doubt at this moment. This is a very real part of it. This is happening often. This is not a one-off. Yeah. Anyway, let's have breakfast, and then we'll continue on doing a bit of grading so I can continue with the knit. Okay, I'm just going to do a tiny bit of grading to figure out the underarm cast on, and then to also just see how long I want the jumper to be before I do the button band. So the way that it's constructed, you will have to do the button band when you are at the length whenever you want to finish it. So I think I was saying waist level. Yeah, and then you're basically going to bring it together at the end here. So that's why you need to work it first, and then these will be knitted together to close that gap, and then only we're going to start joining them around. So hence why the underarm cast on has to be set now, however long I want the button band to be. And then I need to actually also decide on what kind of stitch I want for the button band. I have started to think about it. This is like a little test piece that I have knitted to test out some short rows actually on this stitch pattern. And then I've done just a little 1x1 rib, but because I've picked up so many stitches and it's on the 5mm, it looks almost like a double knit. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to try it again. I'll just have to make a decision, test a few times and then make a decision. Maybe I'll get to that later today. We'll see. But yeah, okay, let's do some grading. I think I'll just do a little time lapse. I don't think I'll explain too much just now because it's easier if I do it and then know what we have to do before I explain it to you. So here's a nice time lapse of me grading. So it's a few days later now and I've spent some time thinking about the stitch pattern for the button band and for the neckband. I have done a few tests and swatches and I wasn't too keen on the 1x1 rib as I thought I would be. However, I did land on really liking this 2x2 rib. I feel like that gives a nice little contrast in terms of the stitch repeat being quite different. I have also started a little swatch for the traditional way of doing a double knit button band. I'm pretty happy with this 2x2. I think I'm gonna block it and then see how everything stretches out and relaxes. I think it's the wrong pickup rate, but yeah, I think that could look cute, especially with buttons on. But I need to make a decision because unless I've made that decision, I cannot continue on with the sample, and I really want to continue on because I'm starting to feel the time pressure. We're kind of well into June and I want to give this at least a 3-month testing window. So my ideal publish date was September. That's not going to happen. So now we're looking at October and I think that's kind of the latest I want to leave it by. So I kind of have this month to finish up the sample, finish up the pattern, and then do the tag edit and test knit, or start the tester call. So there's a lot to do for this month and I'm starting to feel quite aware of the time constraints. So yeah, that is where we're at. However, I have finished doing all the grading for the front yoke and the underarm cast on, and I'm quite happy with how it looks so far. And so I will just insert the clip now of me grading the front yoke, just for anybody who likes to follow this and who would want to see the maths behind everything, at least how I do the maths. So yeah, you can enjoy that now. Okay, welcome to another grading chat section of the video. Now, before we continue with the front yoke grading though, I thought we'll do a very quick recap of the grading that we've done so far for this jumper. So we have cast it on from the back neck point, we have shaped the shoulders with increases, then knitted straight for a bit to add length to the yoke, and then brought it in a touch again at the end of the back yoke in order to shape for the bust and decrease those stitches to get our final desired back yoke stitches. Now what we're going to do today is create the front shoulder pieces, which will at the end form the front yoke. The first hurdle that we have to overcome is raising those shoulder pieces enough to cover the rounding of our arm up here. So at first we need to raise them up to sort of this midline here, which you can kind of see where the seam is from my shirt. And then we can start bringing it to the front and considering the shaping of this neckline. I've decided on how far down I want my shaping to go, kind of where the point is, where I want the shaping to end for the neckline, with the little mock-up that I've made. And I know how much I need to come inwards because of the length that I have in my back yoke cast on, because that's the point where the shoulder segment sort of starts. So then I know that's how much I have to cover up here in the front in terms of width. However, I need to consider that I want 6 centimeters in between these 2 points here. So there won't be a cast on to bring the 2 neckline shaping parts together. There'll be a gap here. So that's kind of the shaping of the neckline. And then I am having to shape for the arm again and also just decrease a lot of stitches in order to reach my desired yoke circumference at the end. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, But we're going to start a screen recording and I'm going to show you what my little spreadsheet looks like. Okay, let's look at the spreadsheet for the front. So this is my spreadsheet for the front yoke. Again, it's a different sheet within this big grading spreadsheet because the front yoke is a new section that we're looking at. And again, I have started with some of the key measurements that I want to adhere to. So they are important for me to know and remember as I'm grading the front yoke. And again, like I've explained before, I'm taking the cell of the key measurements tab and letting that reflect in this spreadsheet here so that if ever I decide to change something in the key measurements, all of these changes will be reflected across all the cells that show a key measurement. That's really important for you guys to do and remember. So the first thing that I calculated was how many stitches I need to pick up for the shoulder segment. The way I've done it so far is just by going by the rows of increases that I have made. Don't know if that's right, don't know if that's wrong, we're gonna see, but that's how I started. And then I'm doing a tiny bit of shaping because I want to bring it ever so slightly away from the neck at this point, just to create a little bit of a swooping shape. It's very slight, it's just 1 centimeter on each side. And then I calculated how much I need to raise the shoulder segment by in order to come to that front section here. That is something that Jen helped me with massively before, so I kind of have a little bit of an idea and a formula now that I need to use. Then I'm going on to shaping the neckband because now we're at this point. The shoulder segment is raised till this point here, and we can consider the neckband shaping here. And the amount of rows that I have for this is like something that I've already decided on before, but also it's mirroring what's happening in the back. And I then also needed to consider again that these increases here have to be even on either side. So they have to be divisible by 4. And once the numbers have been adjusted, I then was left with the amount of increases that I need to do for each side of the neck shaping. That's how, I calculated this entire section here for shaping the neckline. Then I know it says on the spreadsheet, knit for so and so many rows. However, this section was actually graded after the armhole shaping was graded. Again, like I did with the back yoke, I'm using these straight knit sections to add length to the yoke because I don't want them sitting at the end of the yoke. I think that would look a bit funny after like a swooping shape and then just a little straight. So I think it would look nicer if it's just added in that in-between part between the neckline and the shaping for the arms. So armhole shaping, the lower armhole shaping is mirrored from the back. So that's exactly the same thing that I have done in the back. But after adding this, I realized I have way too many front yoke stitches left in order to reach my desired front yoke stitch count. So I need to decrease more stitches in the front. And the way I've done that is by calculating how many cast on stitches I have, how many I should have, so how much is my desired, and then how many I have left after the lower armhole shaping is deducted. That was kind of what I was left with, and that was the upper armhole shaping and upper armhole decreases that I need to do. So again, the stitches have to be divisible by 2 because I can only ever decrease 2 stitches at a time in order to keep my half fisherman's rib pattern. And then I decided to make these decreases less strong as they are in the lower part. And so I'm decreasing them over more rows in order for them to be a little bit more swooping and less stark. And that's kind of how I have calculated these decreases. So the lower part was mirrored from the back, that was set. And then the upper armhole shaping was something that I have added in because I've had way too many stitches still in the front yoke. And once I had calculated all of these, I knew how many more rows I had left in order to reach my desired yoke depth. And that is the straight knit section up here in between. I've left it up there because that's the order in which you need to knit in, and I didn't want to get myself confused. So even though the calculations are done differently, the way it's presented here on the side is the order that you need to knit in. that's how I calculated the front yoke pieces. And then obviously once the left shoulder segment is knitted and the yoke length is reached, those stitches will rest. Then I'll do the right segment. And once the right segment is done, that's when I can join those 1, 2, and 3 pieces together with an underarm cast on. So I'm going to explain as well how I have done that. The underarm cast on was something that I had set out before because there's a formula that I use of how many stitches roughly I want the underarm cast on to be for it to be comfortable for the wearer, depending on the different sizes. And I have again made this a new sheet because the body is a new section that we're knitting. And I've taken over some key measurements again, which is finished bust, the desired calculated underarm cast on. And then also just in stitches, I've added in my back yoke final stitch, my front yoke final stitches, and then the desired underarm cast on in there in order to calculate my total yoke circumference in stitches right now with the desired underarm cast on. And that actually showed me that I was quite off where I wanted the yoke circumference to be for my size. So I had to do a little bit of adjusting with the underarm stitches in order to create enough stitches for my desired yoke circumference. That left me with having to cast on 7 stitches per side for the underarm, and then I'll be at 147 stitches for the yoke, which is getting me very close to the desired 17 centimeters of positive ease in the size that I'm knitting. Then a little side calculation that I have done just to kind of see where I need to go is to calculate how much more I need to knit until I hit waist length for the entire sweater. That is because in the beginning I set out to make my button band up till waist length, and I just wanted to see roughly how much more I need to knit in order to hit that. So how much more I need to knit from the underarm cast on in order to hit that. And so I've just mashed together the numbers for my yoke depth, which is sitting at 30, or is it 29.5? No, it's pretty much 30 centimeters. And then waist length from the back actually, so from the back neck measured to waist length is 41 centimeters. So I think roughly about maybe 39 centimeters will be like from where my piece sits down to waist length right now. So I'll need to add around 9 centimeters for my underarm cast on in order to reach waist length. But I'll try it on as I go because length doesn't really change all that much for me when I knit half fisherman's rib. It's more width that changes. So I can try it on and get a pretty good idea of where I want the button band to sit. But yeah, that's where we're at. That's the grading chat for this segment. Over. Okay, I have a major indecisive moment right now. I basically have tried a few different swatches for the neckband and button band stitch pattern, and I cannot decide on what to pick for the life of me. I've tried so many different variations now, and just nothing springs out and says, this is it, use me. So yeah, I don't know what to do. I thought I liked the 2x2 rib, but now I'm not so sure. I don't really like the pickup line that it creates. And I feel like the bind off isn't going to be as sharp as it would be in a 1x1 rib. Then I had a little bit of a light bulb where I thought, oh, maybe I should use a twisted rib 1x1. And that looks a bit better, especially on 4mm. It is a bit more distinct from the half fisherman's rib. That was kind of my quarrel with the 1x1 rib. I thought it wouldn't be too distinct, but I don't know. And I just think the double knit in 6 centimeters is just going to be way too big. I just feel like it's not going to be what I want. And I also don't think I would like it if there were 3 different stitch patterns in it. So a different neckband stitch pattern, different button band, and then the half fisherman's rib itself. I need to make a decision because I can't continue with anything unless I make that decision and do the button band. So yeah, I'm a bit stuck. And then right now it's just driving somewhere and my mind went, what if we do it in a different color? So Now I'm also contemplating just making the button band and neckband in a different color because I bought my yarn for the cardigan version. So now I'm like, oh, what if I use that for the button band and the neckband? Oh my God, I'm just, yeah, major torn. I don't know. I would say to you, help me make a decision, but this video will come out in a few days and by then I want to have continued. But maybe just let me know what your favorite is. Is it the 2x2? Is it the double knit? Is it the twisted 1x1 rib? I don't know. But yeah, I need to just get on with it. I need to make a decision and continue. I have my swatches still drying, so I need to wait a tiny bit more until I can measure, gauge, and then make a decision. But yeah, that's where we're at. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you this week with this conundrum of what am I going to do with the button band and the neckband. We're going to solve this problem in next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. There is episode 2 and 1 up of this. So if you've just joined in on this random point, go watch the first and second episode for everything to make sense. And if you don't want to miss the next episode, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon. Then you're going to be notified and the next video will be right in your inbox and you will see how this whole button band, neckband conundrum ends. And I mean, I'm excited to see how it ends because I just want it to end. But yeah, that's where we are. So next time we're going to tackle the button band, we're going to tackle the neckband, and I'm pretty sure we're also going to add a sleeve. So things are going to start taking shape major next time. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.